So today I'm delighted to say that I'm in conversation with Sian Lewin, the author of the Alfie and Pepper book series and the new books that she's currently writing at the moment. So here we all are. Here we're going to go and find out all about your lovely book. So tell us, how did it all begin? How did the journey start?
Well, lovely to see you, Sue. It started actually in 2012. I had a really strange cancer in 2012, which is called hairy cell leukemia. And about 25 women a year in Britain get it, and I got it.
Wow.
So I had to have about 8 weeks basically sitting on the sofa. So after several box sets and Desperate Housewives about the third time, I thought I need to do more than this. And at the time, I had 2 dogs, and I had a Alfie, who was a Border Terrier Cairn Cross, a very cheeky dog. And when my husband and I married, we didn't want any more children, so we got a fur baby, and that was Pepper, who's a Welsh Border Collie. So I thought, I'm going to write a little story about them. So I wrote a story, and in fact, it's one of the ones I actually haven't published yet. So it's about Alfie and Pepper going to the vet. And what I wanted to do, I've got quite a few grandchildren now, but I didn't at the time. I wanted to create a nice, calming bedtime story.
Yes.
And I wanted a little life lesson in each story.
Yes, which is lovely, yes.
Yes. So my other thing was, and I know with my children, I know what I was like. I wanted to start the dogs in their bed so they wake up, so children see that's a nice, safe place to be in the morning, and they go, all right. Then their owner comes in and says, right, we're doing this today. So whether it's going on a narrowboat, whether we're going to the seaside, and they're all things that children can actually do. And in most cases, actually don't cost a huge amount of money. They're all achievable. And then they have their adventure. And during the story, there's a little life lesson. So when they go to the seaside, it's the importance of learning to swim. There's quite a subtle one in when they meet the new baby, because that's about having a treat, but not necessarily a physical treat. So what they feel is a nice warm feeling when their owner holds the baby and he has a lovely time. So the dogs are looking on, and that's the feeling of being warm and lovely.
Yes.
And also Alfie learns about changing a baby, which he didn't quite. So there's always little things like that.
Yes.
So what I did was I obviously got better, and I'm now in my 11 and a half years in remission. I just put it in a drawer. Fast forward to Mr. COVID, because of my whole history, I had to stay in. Literally from March 1st, my consultant rang me and said, do not leave the house. So for 2 weeks from March the 1st, before anybody knew about shielding, I stayed in the house. And then after a few weeks, I could go in the garden and things. I thought, got my Alfie and Pepper story out from 2012, and I wrote a further 8.
Oh, wow.
And, you can't actually see at the moment, but I originally trained to be an actress about 1,000 years ago.
Yes, I know.
I had 3 years at drama school. I still hope Steven Spielberg is out there wanting a 64-year-old woman that people don't know. And so I recorded them as well.
Yes.
So we've got Alfie, who's very cheeky chappy, and he's sort of like this. And then I got very tidy Welsh Pepper, who knows everything, typical Border Collie. So Alfie learns through the story. So when they go on the narrowboat, they learn about the locks and what happens and things like that. So each story has fun things, but also a little bit of knowledge for children. But the essential thing for me with the story is they end in bed. So the children then think, so rather than getting all razzed up and ready for, going to the moon or whatever, I mean, those stories are great. But if you're trying to calm your children down, you want them to be nice and sleepy. So Alfie, before you could say fluffy rabbits, Alfie and Pepper were fast asleep. And so that's really the story. So at the moment, I have 7 published. I did a compendium of the first 5 in a hardback. My illustrator was moving to France, and I thought, oh gosh, what am I going to do? So I said, I've got a brilliant editor, Jen Parker, who is fabulous. And I said, could we do a hardback of the first 5.
Lovely.
So we did, and that's done well. And then after that, I did 2 more. So we're up to 7. I still have 2 more that are already written.
Yeah.
In my little studio here, because we live in a very old cottage, and we've got this sort of single box room which has no windows in, so it's perfect for recording. So I have a little recording area.
Yeah.
So I've recorded them all, and also I've filmed them, which they're on the website, the first 5. I'm still waiting to do the last 2. So they'll be done in a couple of weeks, hopefully.
So what is the website, Sian, that people can find all about it? And then I'll ask you actually what are all the topics, because they're so lovely, these books. They're so delightful. So where can they find them? We'll talk about it and put it up at the end, but say now.
Right. It's quite long. It's the Adventures of Alfie and Pepper.com.
Okay.
So if you go on there, the first 5 stories are filmed. I got some wonderful guys in Nottingham who 6 months before me were filming Vicky McClure. And
wow.
I didn't think they would touch me with a barge pole, but they did. They were absolutely lovely. And they said it was such fun. So I think it's about bringing them to life, really.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm going
well,
to
children like to have stories. They can have their stories by, someone reading to them, looking at them together, or watching them, or just listening to them. However we can encourage children to enjoy stories and books, you can do it in any way that you like. So tell me just again, just run through briefly the topics that you cover, because I love it, because toddlers and young children can really identify with all the things that they get up to.
Well, they're I've known people buy them for they're aimed at 3 to 6 year olds for me.
Yes.
But I know people younger. I know one of my granddaughters who's 9. She loves reading them.
Yeah.
And just on that topic, actually, I chose the font specifically so that things like the A would be like a child would actually write, rather than the whirly one, whatever that one's called.
That's
and it's
interesting.
called Dr. Watson. I literally did loads of things. So it's called Dr. Watson.
Yeah.
And I just liked it. It was easy to read. So the first one is about a trip to a farm park. So it's learning about other animals and things. And also the life lesson there is picking up after a picnic. The second one is about a new baby. And who doesn't have a new baby in most families? And understanding about changing them. And it's not what Alfie thinks. He thinks he's going to get another baby, but it's the nappy. And then he realizes what a nappy does. So he has a very twitchy nose. The third one is about a trip to the seaside, and they meet a new friend called Lily, who is a French poodle. And Alfie gets tossed over by a wave. So he's like most dogs swim naturally, but Alfie gets pushed over. So Master sort of helps him through the waves, and he's more confident. And they have an ice cream at the end. And now the reason very quickly why I put the ice cream in is because when I was poorly, it was one of the things on my list. And Mr. Whippy, I wasn't allowed. I'm not quite sure what's in them. So that's the third one. And then the fourth one is Alfie and Pepper and the Christmas tree. So it's all about decorating tree, choosing and everything. And then it's I think I've got them around the right way, the trip on the narrowboat.
Yes.
It's learning about fishermen, swans on the canal and everything, and having just a nice leisurely time on the narrowboat. And then it's the village fete. So, and this actually happened with the real Alfie, because on the website you'll see pictures of the real dogs. So Alfie actually did go in a terrier race, and he did win a blue ball. So there's in that one, and then the last one we did was Alfie and Pepper move house. And I wanted to emphasize there with children. I've actually worked in housing for 27 years, and there's a lot of anxiety, especially with children when they're leaving their friends. And that's what happens with Alfie and Pepper, especially Alfie. So one of the things I did, and this is what I suggest as well, that each had a box, Alfie and Pepper. So they put their favorite toys in. So when they get to the new house, it's
great.
instantly there. So their little toys, their balls and everything are there. And then they meet their new neighbour, who is Winston, the English bulldog, who sticks his head through the hedge. And it's really, and then there's the removal guys who try and make Alfie, they give him a biscuit, because Alfie's whole thing is about treats. So he'll do anything for a treat, and he did in real life. So that's the last one. So I have two more after that I will do next year. And that's The Vet, which was the original one, and The Snowman. That will be.
Oh, they're just so lovely. I just love them. So, you know, I know now that you're also currently writing something because of your granddaughter and where she lives. So tell us about your new projects that you're up to.
Right, my new project. Well, COVID came along and I didn't see my daughter for 2.5 years. And during that time, she got pregnant right at the beginning. We'd just seen her. We flew out, it's coming up for 3 years. We flew out to Australia. That's where she lives with her husband. And so she had Daisy in lockdown, which was quite hard for her. And a lot of families and people having babies, it was a very tough time.
Yes.
And so I never saw Gina pregnant. So sort of fast forward 2.5 years, some other things happened obviously as well to her. So last June, just over a year ago, I flew out to Australia. And by this time, Daisy was 20 months and we'd done a lot of chatting on video calls. Thank God for video calls.
Yes, yes.
I mean, 30 years ago, it would have been a letter and sort of see you every 3 years. So anyway, so I arrived and my son-in-law, Billy, filmed Georgina waiting with Daisy. And then I came through, I don't know if you've seen it, but I walked through and seeing my daughter was pregnant with her second child. And Clever Girl has produced both on their due dates, because obviously when I booked to go, I thought, not early.
Yes.
And then I said to Daisy, I said, it's Mamie. I said, you probably, Mamie, I'm normally in the phone. And so a little seed in my head germinated while I was there. And I came up with the idea of Mamie in the mobile. Now, Mamie is my grandma name. So I didn't want to be called grandma or granny or nanny or whatever. So I'm called Mamie by my grandchildren. I have 5 grandchildren now. And so I came up with Mamie in the mobile. And very briefly, it's obviously Daisy is in Australia. I'm here in England. And we have a little conversation and she's playing with some toys. And they're actually safari animals that she's playing with. And based on a little bit of truth, when I was a child, I went to Kenya. We were living in, Kenya, they call it now. We were living in Bahrain and we went on a safari and we went in a Morris Traveller, which I've introduced into the story. And we did get chased by an elephant. So what happens is we're chatting away. My daughter's gone off to bath the new baby. So I'm chatting to Daisy as she's playing with her toys. And I said, I remember when I went to the Serengeti. And we started talking about that. And she said, I'd love to go to the Serengeti. So I said, well, if you close your eyes really, really tight and put your hand on the phone, and I'll put my hand on the phone, and we're suddenly there in the Serengeti. It's an imaginative book.
Lovely.
So we have her 4 favorite toys are with us in the car, and then we see the real ones of her toys. And there's a little fact about the elephant, and there's a bit of fun. And then it will be a series because I won't give too much away.
Yeah.
It's a relationship between a grandma,
yes,
and her granddaughter. And I won't tell you the ending because that'll be the second book. So yeah,
how
so
beautiful.
It's all about the relationship. Yeah, so I'm really chuffed.
And that is so special. Yeah,
and I've got I did look at other illustrators, but Alex Robbins, who illustrates Alfie and Pepper, I wanted Alfie and Pepper to look like the dogs that they were. I didn't want them with big googly eyes or whatever and didn't look like them. So he has done a fantastic job on Mamie in the mobile. And it's going to be quite a different book. It's going to be glossy. It's going to be bigger. And the text will be in the pictures. So it's a completely different look, and it's more imagination, because I think that's what children need. They need
Yes.
fire up their imagination, where they're so quick to sort of,
Yeah.
thumbs on doing whatever on mobile phones. So I
Mm.
think hopefully we'll do all right. And my daughter's co-written it with me, so it will be her as well on it. So
when are these available? When's this one coming out?
it's with my editor at the moment, Jen. The illustrations were finished last week, and so I'm hoping a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, not long. So we'll be able to share it across all the social media places. Where can people find you, find your books, and what are your social media handles?
I'm desperately trying to remember all my social media handles.
Well, we'll
on
put
Instagram.
some of this at the end of the video,
Yes.
but just so you tell people.
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter. I absolutely love Twitter. Weirdly, I went on it in 2012, never used it. I only started using Twitter last September, and I've met some wonderful people who we've shared books and supported each other. I'm on Instagram. I'm struggling a bit with TikTok, but I'm trying it. Obviously on Facebook. I do quite a lot on LinkedIn, having been, in the corporate world for quite a while. So I'm there in those sorts of places.
So what's your name? You need to tell me the handles.
I will have to send them to. I know it's Lewin Sian on Instagram, so I'll have to.
Yeah.
Yes. So if they just put in Sian Lewin.
If people go to your website as well, they can find all the icons on there as well, and we'll put them around. And I will be sharing them. If they put in the Sue Atkins Book Club, hashtag the Sue Atkins Book Club, all my authors come up there from the book club, and we'll be able to share it. And I'll tag you in everything, so don't panic. But people put in your name, they'll find you. And these are really delightful books. And I can't wait to see your new books as well, because that bond between grandparents is just so special and magical too. And I love hearing all the backstory behind the author and who they are and how they came about and the wonderful books. So thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Sue, and thank you. And I think I've been with you. Are we coming up for nearly 2.5 years, I think. So it's...
I know. And so, if I follow you, you follow me. I know all about you. I know when you go for a morning walk with Buddy and all sorts of things. So it's so lovely, because social media, people go, oh, I don't like it. It can be a negative place. Personally, I only pump out positive stuff, to be honest. And, I like to celebrate all my authors, because the Sue Atkins Book Club started, like you say, you started writing more in the pandemic. I started the book club to connect authors to my parents and families. If you're looking for a new book or a new angle, these are not well-known authors, but some of the books are just so lovely. So, you've been with me along the path that I've been on, and the journey around creating it and building out more and more authors and more styles of books. So that's why it's so lovely. And then we all create friendships, and children get the benefit, and reading is so important, and story time and bedtime with little ones and older ones is crucial. So lovely to see you, and we'll be spreading this joy and our lovely conversation around our social media, so look out for it. Take care, Sian.
Thank you very much, Sue. I really appreciate it.